All right, guys, we are here to do week 4 fantasy football predictions. This is going to be largely based on the FanDuel 60K cap salary system. Some of these predictions may help you. I'm not an expert. I'm just a normal guy like most of you who probably come here to see if you could get a little bit of inside help and help you make a decision or not. Going off the 60K cap from FanDuel, which, by the way, my picks from last week, week 3, made me a decent little chunk of money. Nothing spectacular. I tend to go with the $1 games, and I tend to go 50-50. I'll get into that in a different video. This week, for the quarterback picks, I'm going with Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers has had a pretty good year so far. Nothing too bad. Nothing outstanding, but he's stayed consistent. His wins were notable. His losses were also notable. He's going up against one of the worst teams in the NFL in Week 4, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who've had a 3-game loss, guys. With that, and the fact that the NFL this year is cracking down on penalties, if any of you have watched any games since Week 1, you're noticing that penalty flags are flying left and right. A team that's got 3 losses is going to be frustrated. They're not going to have the patience. Their morale is going to be broken real easy, and they're going to be angry, pissed off, on the field, tired, feeling like losers if they're not racking up points right away. And they've got referees that are going to be flagging them left and right. I think this is going to be a high penalty game. I think that you're going to end up seeing Philip Rivers destroy what little remains of the Jacksonville defense. And I'm basing a lot of my picks this week on the San Diego. As a matter of fact, would have actually picked them as my defensive line if they were not outside of my cap by the time I had picked everything else. I think that it's going to be a slaughter fest that's going to make the Buck and Atlanta game look like a joke. I could be wrong. Jacksonville may pull something out, but I think most of us are sitting back realizing that's probably not going to happen. For running back choices, I'm going with Bradshaw from the Colts. They're going up against the Tennessee Titans. Bradshaw's already put up some decent numbers this year. I don't see Tennessee really pulling anything out of the fire that's going to be great. They haven't had an amazing year, better than Jacksonville, but again, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL right now. Bradshaw's got some decent numbers. The Colts are a decent team. I think he's going to be a relatively easy pick. And since I didn't have a lot of money to drop on DeMarco Murray this week, I decided to take what I view to be some of the safest choices out there. So it ended up being Bradshaw, and the second running back choice was going to be Bell from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Relatively good choice going with Bell. He is, if you're on FanDuel, the second highest running back that's available. Only 200 less than DeMarco Murray, but I didn't have $200 to spend. And I also don't think that the Cowboys are going to be having as good of a run game this week against New Orleans. If you looked at my week 3 picks, I definitely had the Cowboys favored that week. They got me some good numbers, and Romo did win like I said he would. But this week, I'm going to end up going, I'm going to step outside of my Cowboys realm, and I'm going to be going with a little bit more of Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, and San Diego. For wide receivers, I'm going with Eddie Royal. Again, you got San Diego. They're going up against Jacksonville. I always try to pair at least 1 or 2 of my wide receivers up with whoever I have as quarterback. I want them on the same team. That way we can run double digits. That way if Philip Rivers is getting good numbers, I want those good numbers translating to his good wide receivers. Because I didn't pick a running back for him. I mean, Philip Rivers has an arm. He's not going to be relying like Tony Romo does on the running back this year. The Cowboys have gotten beat down a lot for not running the ball over the last few years, with Jason Garrett having his head up his ass, wanting to pass the ball all the time. That's leading to a Romo with a back injury getting so many interceptions that you're seeing. Philip Rivers, he doesn't have those injuries. He doesn't have those problems. He's not going to be relying on running the ball, so I'm not going to pick a Charger. Even though they very well may get a decent run game out of Jacksonville, I'm not going to rely on him for my run game, but I am going to rely on him for his arm. I think he's going to have a lot of passing yards this game. So my other wide receiver choice, other than Eddie Royal, is going to be Allen, also from San Diego. Betting a lot on just that game, but again, like I said, guys, my tactic is to go after some of the worst teams out there. And this year, I've already picked those teams based upon their 0-3 averages. My third wide receiver pick is going to be Brown from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brown's got some really good numbers. I mean, he's a solid wide receiver. He's one of I think he's the 5th most expensive, like right under Brandon Marshall with the Chicago Bears. He's been putting up a pretty decent average. I think he's going to be worth the price at the Tampa Bay game because Tampa Bay is in the same realm as Jacksonville. Their morale is going to be broken, and this year, in particularly, I don't see low morale of your team lasting into these games. There's too many penalties being thrown. You're going to get pissed off. I saw it in the Raiders game, guys. And you guys watched the Raiders game last week. You saw how quickly those penalties were just stacking up, just boom, 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 boom. You have a team that's notoriously heavy in penalties. I think they're actually leading the NFL right now in penalties. And as they start losing the game, they're just getting pissed off. So there's more unsportsmanlike conduct. There's more, neutral zone infractions. If people are getting impatient, they're getting pissed off. Who would think that an adult who makes millions of dollars a year would have a short temper during a fucking sporting event? But they do, guys. I'm betting on that. Getting out of wide receivers, I'm sticking with Kobe from the Colts for tight end. The Colts have an interesting tight end strategy. They've got this realm where they're going where they're just throwing tons of tight ends on the field, and they're relying on it. It hasn't really panned out for them. You're not seeing, anybody scoring, 3 touchdowns a game off of this strategy. But I'm looking at a lot of the other teams throughout the NFL right now, and they have one of the most complex, and that doesn't necessarily translate into good. So I kind of view Kobe as a wild card, but I'm relying on the fact that they're one of the few teams that are implementing this tight end strategy. They're the only team that's actively saying, hey, we're going to try to give as much as we can to our tight ends. So I'm going with Kobe, and I am going with him because I think he's one of the best choices in the ballpark of the price range that I had from the Colts. I think he's going to get the ball the most, and I think that he's going to, for the price, he's going to get the ball the most. For kickers, I'm going with Sean from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game, Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay. I could be wrong. Tampa Bay having a different quarterback now that McCown's out. This could be differently, but I'm relying on the fact that Tampa Bay's defense is not what it needs to be. And I believe that the Steelers are going to be putting up numbers, whether or not the new quarterback who's stepping in for McCown, I forget his name off the top of my head, if he can get numbers up, as a rookie, that's great. But I think that the Steelers are going to be getting the numbers up too, which is going to translate into a lot of kicks, guys. That's a lot of points. And then lastly, for defense, more so out of price rather than belief, I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would have gone, ironically, this week with San Diego, but San Diego is running a little bit higher for me, and I'm about $100 on my cap shy from getting them. Let me double check here. Maybe if I'm wrong, I'll grab them. Yeah, I'm actually 200 short because I have a 200 remaining in my salary. I would actually go with the Chargers if you could. If you don't like one of my other choices, you got something that's a little bit cheaper, your salary cap's different. I would jump on the Chargers, guys. Again, Jacksonville is in such a state right now, just like Tampa Bay, that the way that the NFL refs are setting these games up, they're going to fall apart. They're going to be in pieces. The fact that that played such a key role, I think, in the Raiders game is going to just keep equating to more and more problems for a lot of these teams that aren't sitting on a decent number of wins or aren't getting any wins in some cases. They're going to start falling apart as the season progresses unless they get wins, and it's going to be easier and easier, I think, for teams to win against them. I think I believe I heard the other day that Jacksonville is sitting on a 15-game losing streak. Well, I believe that this week's going to be their 16th game losing streak, and that goes back into obviously since it's only week 4, that goes back into last season. But the thing is that how do you build morale off of that? If you're not letting your guys get a little bit of aggression out on the field, and they're not going to be allowed to. I mean, we might see the refs start loosening up as the season progresses, but I doubt it. They're trying to send a point. And I've heard some people say that the conspiracy theory is that they're trying to do all of these penalties because it's letting them get more commercial time in. It's making the games run longer. Therefore, the NFL is creating more ad revenue. I don't necessarily believe that. I think they're just trying to make a point because the NFL has been spotlighted so much. They don't want any major injuries this year that are going to make them look even worse after the whole domestic violence crap. But anyways, guys, those are my picks for week 4. I won a decent amount last week. I won probably about 60% of my 50-50 attempts. Basically made my money back, but I don't play fantasy football to win and make it big. I play it just for shits and giggles. If this helped you guys out, awesome. Check out some of my other videos. See if I just have my head up my ass or if I'm giving out sound advice. Good luck and take it easy.